Good afternoon, folks, and thanks, Lorraine. That's very generous of you. Thank you. Now, as you can see, folks, I'm on my own, and I wasn't really that honest with you this morning. I did tell you that David didn't get it so light with the police, and he didn't. No, their fault. Just procedural, and he was detained for quite a long time. But most important thing, I suppose, is that as a consequence, when I was talking to him last night and then again this morning, it was quite clear that the whole experience had a detrimental effect on his health and well-being. And as you know, folks, David has a hard few years. The channel's been helping him with his recovery. I won't let it no come back. So David will be taking a sidestep for a wee bit till he gets back on track again, because this has really hit him hard physically and mentally. I mean, David and I have been campaigning together for a very long time, and that won't stop. David's going to go back to getting the Facebook groups up and running. That's where the majority of our audience is. That's where the majority of our activity goes on. So he's not giving up at them. He's not giving up, but he's took a hell of a fright, and it has had a detrimental effect on his mental and physical health, I can assure you, folks. And we were talking about this quite in depth last night, and it became clear this morning when we were speaking to him again that this isn't going to be good for him for a while, so he's going to have to take a wee step back for a while. Which leaves us with a bit of conundrum. What do you do with a Monday slot and the Thursday slot in the afternoons? I'll give it some thought. I haven't really put anything together for this afternoon, because I knew I was going to be telling you that David was going to have to take a break for a while. As you are all aware that he has been in delicate health. And you've all witnessed his last few years. It's been very public. But as I say, I won't have what we are doing on here cause a setback in his recovery. He means too much to me for that. He's a good friend, very close friend. And we've worked very hard together over the years. He'll be back when he's ready. He'll be back when he's recovered. But at this point in time, I wouldn't even let him into the green room. Simple as that. I won't have our activities online. Guest speakers, maybe Ted. I won't have our online activities be detrimental to his health. He'll still be around. He'll still be vlogging. He'll still be blogging. And I'll still be here. We've set up too much of a community to let it go. And to stop it, go to keep it growing. As long as there's need, and as long as we're no independent, there'll be a need for a channel like this. So he'll be back when he's ready. In the meantime, you're just going to have to put up with me. And as I say, we'll work out what we're going to do with it Mondays and Thursdays, the afternoon slots. But we have got a fair bit to talk about the day. So we'll give you a bit of a programme. First thing I want to talk about is, of course, First Ministers. It was a day. And talking to Steamy for First Minister today, of course, was the UK budget. So first up was the absolutely irrelevant and soon to have killed the Conservative Party in Scotland, Russell Finlay, and he accused Swinney of falsely claiming to have maintained his manifesto commitment on income tax. The First Minister welcomed there. Now, folks, the manifesto pledge on income tax. Look it up. Anyway, Swinney's adamant that he hasn't. And, he also welcomes the abolition of the two-child cap on benefits. And he claims that his government will go to do it. and putting pressure on the UK government to do that and shamed them into it. Second up, of course, was Anas Sarwar, and for a change, he wasn't chasing ambulances. He was talking about Labour scrapping the two-child cap. He was wanting to buzz about it, but the SNP had already done it. So what was Anas's retort? Anas's retort was they'd 8 years to do it. Labour's done it in 18 months. Labour had no intention of fucking doing it. None. And when we get to the budget, we'll talk a wee bit more about the disaster that was the budget. Once again, it's a short-term gain, trying to fix a situation which is unfixable. But we'll get there. And after Anas Sarwar, we had Ross Greer of the Greens, and he was telling the First Minister that he better put a just transition plan in place for the employees at Mossmoran. I don't know how many times we'll go to explain this to people. There is no employment in renewables. After the construction stage, which is short-lived when it comes to wind, there's only 9 people needed to run the generating plant. There's no thousands of jobs waiting to be created in green energy, folks. That's a myth. An absolute myth. Once you've built these stations, whether it be hydro, whether it be wind, whether it be tidal, once they're in place, it's basic maintenance. Basic maintenance. Don't need a lot of people for it. Absolutely mental. Got an idea for Monday, Thursday. A guest. Aye, we'll give it plenty of thought. It's the arranging it and getting people to be able to fit the time slot. Anyway, I also want to talk about something fucking daft that went on in Glasgow. And I mean daft. It makes the mind boggle. Now, the real complaint of the right-wing racist is that people coming here don't learn to speak the language and don't integrate. So when people who are coming here, they go to learn the language and they want to integrate, what do the right-wing do? They go and protest the school where the people are learning English, claiming that they're unvetted people who are a danger to the children in there. It's their own fucking children. Now, what do the right wing want? Do you want these people to integrate and become part of society and learn the language? No, they don't, folks. They don't. They want to shot at them. But this makes your head wobble a wee bit, you know. They don't integrate. They don't speak the language. So they go to learn to speak the language so they can integrate. And they're protested for doing that as well. Get a grip, right-wing knuckle draggers. You really, really are blowing the mind of the ordinary citizen here in Scotland. Now, apparently Farage is on his way back and all. He'll be up here on the 6th of December. Going to Falkirk. Incidentally, 6th of December, Falkirk. There's going to be a protest outside an asylum hotel. What is it? We're important here. It looks like it's creeping out of the border. Painting roundabouts and shouting at fucking hotels. Wow. Your dad paints roundabouts and your mom shouts at hotels. Wow. You couldn't make it up. And they're there claiming they're there to protect the children while scaring the bloody children in the building. You know, you can't make it. Aye, I heard that Gordon had put a show on about what happened to David Knight. They say it's not something I want to get into anymore. It's something I'd like to be put on the shelf now. It is active. So the less said, the better. As I say about these right wingers, you just couldn't make it up. You really couldn't make it up. I say, but Farage is on his way up. Why is he on his way up? Well, they might still be second in the polls, but they're way, way back in the polls. Way back. The SNP have got a double-digit lead in both them and Labour, who are more or less neck and neck in the polls here in Scotland. So that's why Farage is on his way up. And All in One Banner is organising an anti-racist a protest in Falkirk the same day. I'll see if I can make it lie. Can't make any promises. I say, so mental. Then, of course, yesterday we had the budget. So let's start off with the duties that went up. All right, the things that's going to hit the ordinary person in their pocket. Tobacco duty increased by the retail price index, about 2% apparently. Vaping tax to be introduced, £2.20 per 10 millilitres of vaping fluid. Alcohol duties will rise by RPI in 2026. Soft drinks industry levy. Well, the tax was widened to include pre-packaged milkshakes and coffees, and the sugar content threshold for the levy was lowered from 5 grams to 4.5 grams per 100 millilitres. Effectively, that will come in January 2028. Gambling duties. Gambling, remote or online gaming duties will increase from 21% to 40% from April 2026. General betting duties. A new rate of 25% will be introduced from April 27. And bingo duty has been scrapped. Property taxes and investment taxes increases includes new annual supercharge on properties in England valued at 2 million or more. And effectively from April 2028, property income tax rates based on higher rates of dividend tax and savings income tax will all increase. And the higher rate of stamp duty is going up and all. Other duties and taxes. The existing freeze on income tax has been extended. Pension contributions made via salary sacrifice above a certain annual threshold will no longer be exempt from national insurance contributions. That threshold is £2,000, by the way. That will come in April 29. New tax for drivers of battery-operated and hybrid cars. They'll be paying a mileage tax. And the custom duty exemption for small overseas packages has been removed, so you won't pay the duty on small overseas imports. Okay, so they're the main ones that are going to hit ordinary people. But there is more interesting breakdown on the BBC, and I'm going to share it with you so that you can see where the tax is actually going to be raised and whose back it's going to be raised on. Okay, so we'll share this image for you. Not a bad one for you. The biased corporation. Well, what does it tell us? Personal tax threshold freeze, the extension of what we call the fiscal drag by another 3 years. That will bring in 8 billion quid. Think about that. That will bring in 8 billion. Other tax measures, meaning all the duties I've just spoke about, which will be imposed on ordinary and poorer people, that will raise 5.8 billion. Salary sacrifices and pension changes will raise 4.7 billion. Property savings and dividends income tax increase will raise 2.1 billion. Corporation tax change will only raise 1.5 billion. Electric car mileage tax, it will raise 1.4 billion. Gambling tax changes will raise 1.1 billion. Capital gains tax changes, only 0.9 billion. Mansion tax on properties over 2 million will raise 400 million. So, as you can see, folks, the top two categories is where it affects the ordinary guy in the street the most, and that will raise the most money. The other thing is the pensions rate will raise 4.7 billion or 4.9 billion. So much for taxing the rich and those with the broadest shoulders bearing the burden. As this graph perfectly illustrates, it shows who's getting smacked. The extension to the fiscal drag is going to hurt the poorest the most. It's going to drag pensioners into tax, and it's going to raise the most. There was a couple of positives in the budget that we do need to talk about. The two-child benefit cap and the eugenics involved in that. The social engineering involved in that, which meant that parents weren't having any more than 2 kids, strangling the population. That going is very welcome. As for the energy relief at 150 quid, that will help. But the top graph there, the one that explains the fiscal drag, that's going to hit the poorest in society the hardest. And it's going to drag people who don't pay income tax at the moment into tax. And that includes pensioners. That includes pensioners. So, you know, she then went on to talk about fantasy figures. And remember, folks, it is fantasy figures. She went on to give us her projections and the OBR's projections going forward. And growth, well, 1.5 apparently. My arse. But even at that, it had been downgraded for 2.5. It will never reach that. So based on her figures, she calculates that she's going to lower the national debt and have the UK in surplus by the end of this parliament. Cuckoo land stuff. Absolutely cuckoo land stuff. It's crystal ball gazing. The reality of the situation is not as it would appear. The benefit bill is rising. The tax take is dropping. And here's another bit of bad news. But it won't please the racists until they find out how it's going to hit their fucking public services. Inward migration down by a couple of 100,000 people. Net inward migration was only 200 odd thousand. Every 100,000 that come in bring in roughly 7 billion in tax revenues to the exchequer. A drop of net migration of 300,000 has just seen the Treasury take a rap of 21 billion a year. Rachel's figures, I'm sorry, but Rachel's figures are gaga and lala and bollocks. This is a contracting economy. Scotland's sort of keeping its head above the water at the moment. Northern Ireland's keeping its head above the water at the moment. Just. But the UK as a whole is a contracting economy. Unemployment is at a staggering 5% down that road. 3.7 here, it's about the same in Northern Ireland. And that's only set to get worse as the OBR and the Chancellor tells us that the productivity outlook is also down. Well, productivity outlook being down means less people producing. So the unemployment figures are set to rise again, folks. So Rachel's view into the future. It's just make-believe, folks. Now, did she create better conditions for investing in the UK market? Who the hell's going to invest in this marketplace? It's an isolated market. It's cut itself off from its biggest marketplace. It has made it much more difficult to trade with anywhere in the world. And the economy is shrinking accordingly, folks. The economy is shrinking accordingly. The internal market's not that big at only 68, 69, 70 million. There is only so much that needs to be produced to service that amount of people. When the idiots were voting for Brexit, they never realised that they were putting themselves on the dole, because most of what they were producing was going to bloody Europe. But the budget, there were some good measures in it, which will give some short-term relief to some people. And fortunately, that'll be young families. And that is really needed. That's really welcome. It also means that people might be able to afford to have more children, but not at the rate that we can replace 300,000 people net coming in. We needed the people. We still need them. But because they've closed the doors by taking back control, we've got no external market to fucking sell to, and they have made conditions so unfavourable that people are not coming here. And of course, we're living in a fascist state, in an authoritarian state. That's unattractive to people as well. A fine example of that was the way that this Palestine Action judicial review has been rigged. And I mean rigged. And just to blatantly make sure that you can see it was being rigged, as the review was taking place outside the Royal Courts of Justice, they were lifting people for holding placards. Lifting them. You've got judicial review inside the building. Inside the building, which might make all the arrests null and void, illegal. And yet they were still doing it, so they're pretty sure of the outcome. And that'll explain why the judge who granted this review and who has heard all the evidence up to date has been replaced by a panel of 3 judges. And if what I'm watching and what I'm hearing is true, 2 of them are biased towards this government. They're rigging the fucking judiciary, folks. When we talk about fascist state, and then they're going to take it a step further down that road when we talk about fascist states, because they're going to do away with the right to a jury trial. So now you won't be sentenced by a panel of your peers. You will be judged by an authoritarian state. This isn't the slow slide into fascism. This is the fucking fast gallop to fascism. You couldn't make it up. You really couldn't make it up. They're rigging the judiciary. They're clamped down on people's right to protest. They're pissing about with their human rights. Wow. Absolutely. Wow. These people have flipped the lids. Power has gone to their heads, but they know there's trouble ahead, so they're trying to stamp down. One of the judges was helping deal arms to Israel. That doesn't surprise me, Andy. That doesn't surprise me. Thank you very much, Jadir, is it? Thank you. Character holding their hands together saying thanks. No, thank you guys. And I'm sure there's going to be children in Inverclyde this Christmas who will eat better because of you guys. Who maybe get a decent meal because of you guys. So thank you. And I'll have that sorted by Tuesday. That'll be out the door by Tuesday. Next to go, the Magna Carta. Well, it's not really that relevant these days, but aye. The rights the subjects will back be in serfs with no rights. None. But folks, that place across that border, I feel sorry for the good people, and that's the majority of them. Because what they're seeing is a state battening down the hatches for internal strife. And it's becoming more and more authoritarian by the day. By the day. As I say, it's a horrific situation down that road. It really is. Right, on other news as well, up here, as we speculate on the Scottish budget, the Finance Minister's made it clear there will be no additional tax bans and there will be no increases in tax rates this time round. Which I suppose is what we expected on the run-up to an election. So, there will be no change. Don't know what giveaways there might be in the budget, but there'll be no more change. Oh, King Charles' new Chuck designed passport being rolled out, is it? Thanks, Pete, for the wains. No, that's where it's gone. Going to food banks. And the food banks tend to be feeding families. Thanks, Kirsty. You've all been dead generous. I say, but if we have a look at it down that road, now worry about my friends down that road, Darren, Reagan Elite, One Angry Pagan, Graham Price, because it has become a very authoritarian state. With the new Security Acts, the Online Security Act, the Police Crimes Courts and Sentencing Bill, the gerrymandering of the judiciary, the fucking with human rights, the clamping down on immigration when we desperately need people. More from the van fund. 4 weeks to go till moon boots come off. Aye, good Jordy, you were driving again. See, down that road it's scary, folks, and I do wonder, I worry for people like Reagan Elite and that who are in the alternative media down that road. Because when you get to it, they're the people that are basically speaking truth to power. And they don't like that. We can see by the authoritarian moves that have been made down that road. My song's up, is it? Thanks very much. I'll have a wee listen to it later, Thomas. I haven't been on Facebook for an hour or so. Preparing myself mentally for this one. So I was. And Rachel Reeves, folks, she has also in her budget speech and the press interviews afterwards, she was asked about would there be a second Scottish independence referendum if the SNP won a majority? And we've just been told no, our democracy will be denied. But with a fascist government, authoritarian government, quickly sliding into fascism, where they want to deal with jury trials and things like that, where you'll be judged by the state rather than your peers. It's a worrying time. Very worrying time for the people who live down there, especially the vloggers and the bloggers. They're going to have to be very careful. They're going to have to be very careful. Laurie, am I okay? Aye, I'm fine. Sarah, she got a bit of fright, but she's fine. Sarah and I are, we've had a few knocks down through the years. But I've been more the public face of what David and I do. And I will send my best to David for you all. I will. Anyway, where were we? Aye. So, Shona Robson tells us there's not going to be any change to income tax, and Rachel Reeves tells us that they won't respect democracy. They won't respect democracy. You know. And with the Tories shouting about the ruination of the oil and gas industry, well, apparently, there's going to be more licences issued for drilling and exploration in the North Sea based on Labour's plans. And apparently, the budget might break the oil and gas sector. See, if it's £1 for every time I heard that shit. I mean, £1 for every time I heard that, or every time I heard the oil's running out, it's no worth anything, it's no worth bothering about. That's just life in Scotland, where our resources are no good to us. Oh, it's running out. You know, next they'll be telling us we're fucking electricity is second grade. But, so, we've got the Tories in the North East shouting that they're running the sector down. We've got the BBC and the budget telling us they're no. We've got the oil and gas giants telling us that they're disappointed that the profits levy is not going to be taken away. So, will they stop investing? Will they take the new licences? Will they pump more? Fucking right they will. Tax them what you want, as long as you can make a profit, they'll pump it. They'll pump it. And the other thing we're being told is Scotland can't afford the cost of decommissioning oil rigs. There's no Scotland's oil rigs. They're the commercial company that put it there. They can decommission their own fucking rigs. And if they don't, we'll find them. We'll find them hard. And we'll prevent them from getting another licence anywhere. And, to be honest, if we're going to be honest with each other as human beings, we need to stop pumping this stuff. Ecosystems will soon be breaking down. Global warming is having a massive effect, especially in England, where coastal erosion is a big issue. A big issue. There's whole towns along the coast and they're being swept into the sea. But people need to get their head wrapped in this, including me. That's why I say the car I've got right now is the last one I'll ever have. Because it has to stop. We have to stop pumping oil and gas. Simple as that. Oh, that's about you need it all in the mix. You fucking don't. Get the electricity generating and storage system right, and we can just stop using it. We can even use the wind turbines and wind farms to use excess energy to make green hydrogen. And green hydrogen, as it comes out the back of your car as water. You know? But this idea that more licences, we know why they're doing it. Short-term game. They need more tax revenue. Rather than tax the rich, they'd rather kill the planet. End of bloody story. Absolutely mental stuff. So it is. Mental stuff. Now what else? We've got mental health buses to be dispatched. So there you go, folks. If you've got mental health problems, you can now go on a bus to get it sorted. NHS waiting times down here in Scotland for the 4th month in a row. Can't you beat it? You really can't. And of course, what else we got? We've got the constant criticism of the budget everywhere. To be fair, folks, It was probably the best that could be done. I've looked at this budget and I've tried to look at it objectively. It has achieved very little, but at least it hasn't hurt any more people than what's been hurt already. It's not an end to austerity, it's just a lightening of it, ever so slightly. Will it turn Labour's fortunes around? No. Because the economic forecasts tell us that the trajectory is still down. The trajectory is still down, and we're in the early years of what's going to be a depression. Will it be a Great Depression? That remains to be seen. There's not enough data swimming around, and a few changes of policy, and it doesn't need to happen. And that includes opening up and getting back into a customs union with the European Union, because the cost of business right now means there's no investment. And what's the point of investment when you get nobody to fucking sell to? Nobody to sell to. Okay. OBR called in cyber experts over bot's release of budget analysis. A cyber expert, I wonder what that's going to cost. A cyber expert to tell you the wee shite in the desk at the end of the fucking corridor, press the button and let it go. So now they're going to look for a glitch that doesn't exist. The glitch was the wee guy sitting at his desk at the end of the bloody corridor who pressed publish. 46,000 will be unemployed in the oil and gas out of Aberdeen by 2028 if we don't drill, baby, drill. Then they're going to have to retrain and do something else. Because you can drill, baby, drill, or you can die, baby, die. Sorry, your children can die, baby, die. On a dying planet. It's just the way it's going to be. We are going to have to stop extracting this stuff. We're going to have to stop burning this stuff. There has to be better husbandry of the planet. Otherwise, there's not going to be a planet. It does. So, it's just some fucking madness, to be honest with you. UK net migration dropped sharply to 204,000 in a year to June, down 80% from its peak in 2023. Folks, this is a disaster. A disaster. As I said, each 100,000, that 300,000 people who didn't come, they were worth 7 billion quid to the economy. So 300,000, 21 billion lost for the economy. These people think they're taking back control. They're killing the fucking, they're killing the economy. You couldn't make it up. You just couldn't make it up. IBAN, GB Energy, what happened to all the jobs from our Scottish electricity? There was never going to be any, It was what we call an election lie. It would appear that the English political parties are very good at lying to people. The other big question that's being asked is, did Rachel break her manifesto pledge? Aye. She raised NI on the ordinary workers. And you might say, how did she manage that? Because I told you that voluntary contributions to your workplace pension If it's more than £2,000 a year, you're paying national insurance on it. So she did lie. She said there'd be no hike on workers' taxes, NI, income tax, and the other one she wasn't going to hike was VAT. Well, guess what? She did break her manifesto pledge, but it's not the first one. Let's face it, they've all forgotten down that road about the manifesto pledge to save Grangemouth refinery. And I noticed there's still no mention of waspy women in that budget. They did say they were going to look at it again. There will be 10 years when they're all fucking dead. So no mention of the waspy women in that budget either. So I'm sorry, waspy women, and I know a good few years, but it looks as if you'll be gone before they've looked at it again. I see Darren just dropped in. Hi, Darren. Hi, Darren, how are you? Nice to see so many of you there showing your support today. As I say, David won't be around for a wee bit. He had a harder time and it's had an effect on his health. And as you all know, he was in recovery anyway for some really traumatic health issues in the last few years. You've watched him recover. We can't have that setback. So he'll come back when he's ready. But, as I say, and apparently the peers have asked for extra time to discuss the assisted dying bill doing that. I don't think I'll ever make it out of the Lords. I don't think I'll ever make a way out of the Lord. Some of the headlines today, but with the budget, Reeves chooses to tax big and spend big. She didn't. She taxed enough to plug her so-called black hole. And they did what they had no choice but to do because there was an internal civil war going on. And that was give on the 2-child benefit cap. And I'm very pleased that she did. Now, apparently, they dragged it out this long to give Sarwar a wee boost in the Scottish election. Well, the polls out yesterday showed no boost. None. Labour's at 4th here in Scotland. 4th. You couldn't make it up. But I'll be glad to see their demise. And I'll be glad to see Sarwar lose his place as First Minister, as their leader. He's been a disaster for them. And it'll be great to see their numbers in Holyrood diminished. Unfortunately, it's going to be reform that replaces them, maybe. Hopefully, it'll be SNP and no reform that replaces them. But the budget, tax big, spend big, that's not what she did. That's not what she did at all. And I'll put that one back up again to show you who's getting smacked in the budget. As I say, personal tax threshold freeze. That's the one that's going to hurt the poorest amongst us the most. It raises the most revenue. The duties I spoke about, cigarette, tobacco, fuel, that sort of thing. That's what raises that 5.8 billion. So that's things that we all use. And of course, we've just spoke about the changes to national insurance and salary and on your pensions. There you go, folks. So yes, she did break a manifesto pledge. There is no doubt about it. She broke her manifesto pledges, but we're used to Labour breaking the word, especially here in Scotland. Because here in Scotland, they're no in power. No likely to get into power anytime soon. And they're just yapping to the sidelines. In Westminster, this was supposed to be a budget for growth. Sorry, folks. That's not what came out of the OBR. The projections going forward are just fantasy. Absolute fantasy. I just don't see where they're getting these numbers from. They don't match the reality on the ground. Now that immigration's down, inward migration's down by 300,000, Rachel's just got a brand new £21 billion black hole to fill next year. So it looks like she'll be coming back again next year. Drama for that Van Man. Who the hell's Van Man? Oh, the guy that I watched a video with talking bollocks about immigration, but asking the stupid question, why did the left not talk about immigration? He's only a wee boy, maybe in his 40s. He maybe not heard of solidarity. And most of these guys don't know what the left actually looks like. You know, shit for Van Man. Come up with a buy him a pint. That's Darren. That's regularly buy him a coffee. You know, I don't have a problem with Van Man. It was just a stupid fucking question. Just a stupid fucking question. If you're purporting to be of the left, at least understand it. Understand what you're talking about, brothers and sisters. The mind boggles. The mind boggles. The mind boggles. I've never been subscribed to him. I didn't know he was in Brighton. I only caught the one programme where he was talking about why don't the left talk about immigration while purporting to be of the left. And apparently hadn't heard of the idea of solidarity with your fellow man. International solidarity with your fellow worker. Yeah, he purports to be on the left. Purports to be on the left. That's why we don't talk about immigration on the left, because it's no fucking issue. It's not an issue for us on the left. A fellow worker in America, Africa, Argentina, anywhere, that's my brother. And if he moves here, my job as his brother is to make sure that he has the same rights and privileges as I do. That's solidarity. And that's the thinking of the left, because we understand that there is a flow of people across the planet and it's been going on for thousands of years. So, I say it's just a stupid question. Why don't people on the left talk about immigration? Because it's not an issue. That worker in Africa, that worker in South America, that worker in Australia, that worker in Europe, that worker in North America. Solidarity, brother. And if you come here, I'll be making sure you get the same rights and privileges as me, because I'm on the left. And I understand it. My brother might have to move to make a living for him and his family. Need to make him welcome. Need to make him welcome. Aye, Andy, solidarity, no passaran. These are terms that these young people haven't heard. It's just, they haven't heard it. It's not a politics that's been put in front of them. They don't. And very few of them go and have a look at the different political philosophies that have been out there. So far, it's an evolving story. It's an evolving story. But I don't suppose that any of them have ever looked back at the philosophies that have come before as they create their own politics as they go forward. Communism, socialism, liberalism, neoliberalism, fascism. I don't suppose any of them have ever looked at these things or understood them. And I say, Van Man doesn't affect me. I don't know what the hell it is he does. I don't really care. I say, I just caught the one programme and the title it had me Had me spitting feathers when the guy said he was on the left of politics and he didn't understand why it wasn't an issue for us people on the left. But I have reflected on it, and they're young and they're trying their best and they're creating their own politics going forward, you know. And if we can avoid fascism, which it appears we're not going to, and it appears we're going to revisit it again, whatever comes out the other side for these young people, we'll just need to wait and see. I do prefer Screen Queen Randy at your plug for the day, is it? To the van man, aye, definitely. So we never know what's going to come the other side of fascism, folks. Because we know fascism always falls. I love Sir Larry's work as well. Very good. They say we don't know what's going to come the other side yet. We really don't. What we do know, folks, is where we are at the moment isn't working. And yesterday's budget was fantasy stuff. Fantasy stuff. And this direction that politics is now gone in, where manifestos don't mean nothing. It's a different game altogether. Different game altogether. I'll be away shortly and I've got work to go to. It's a different game altogether, folks. But all we can do is guide the next generation and try and keep them away from fascism. But looking at the popularity of reform, it would appear that they're running headlong into it. And we look at the behaviour of the governments in Westminster. They're battening down the hatches, they're killing the economy, they're weakening the populace so it can't rise up. Simple as that. Because the internal market isn't strong enough to fuel systems as they are at the moment. There you can. Well, folks, I managed to follow an hour. That surprised me. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative. As I say, still the Two Davies. He'll be back when he's ready. But I'll not be letting him in the green room until I'm sure he's ready. Because as I say, yesterday had a negative effect on him. I suppose that sort of consideration didn't come into the head of whoever it was that reported this. And the other reason why I won't be stopping, and David will still be there in the background helping me, working alongside me. And of course, we've got the other outlets that are going to be more important to us on the run up to the 2026 election, because that's where the major audience is for us guys on our Facebook pages, and that's where we can get activists active. So you'll be much more busier there. But as I say, we'll come up with something to fill the 2 slots on a Monday and a Thursday. I'll give it some thought. But the one thing I'm not willing to do is let this community die out, because the good we do, the good that we do here in Scotland, the charitable works we do, the ensuring that people in our community get fed, that's very, very important work. That's as important as independence. And as the other David would say, independence, independence, independence. But up until we get there, community building's one of the things that's going to help us win. Community building is one of the things that's going to help us win. Right, as I say, I will come up with something. We'll have some discussions. We'll talk to a few people, see if they want to pop in as guest presenters on some of these slots. And we'll see how it goes. But as I say, the community is important to us. And as I say, Mr. Milligan's not going away. He's just having to take a bit of time out. His health's been rattled. All right. So you'll have to pal up with me for a while. But I'm sure you'll manage it. So 6 minutes short an hour, folks. I'm going to dip out here, put the kettle on, get my boots on, and get ready to get out the door. Look after yourselves. I'll see you all in the morning, 10:30. Don't be late, naughty step. Keep your eyes on the prize, and the prize is the 2026 election. Bye for now.